Hello friends, family and other creatures of the sea, and welcome to a best of 3 between in the bottom right, spawning as our blue Protoss player, playing for team DKZ Gaming. It is HeroMarine. And in the top left as our red Terran player playing for Mouse. It can only be one, and it's HeroMarine. I think he's been with Mouse for somewhere like 11 or 12 years at this point, like some absolutely redonkulous amount. This guy is mental, just with Mouse all the time. As HeroMarine here opens up with a Nexus Before Core, no Scout, an uncommon strategy, or at least the Nexus Before Core is uncommon. HeroMarine has been showcasing a lot of no Scouting as of late, as we see HeroMarine on the other side, realizing he's not getting scouted, also doesn't scout, and opening up with a reactor as the first building here. Is still mining gas, which would indicate that there's going to be a factory follow-up rather than having some type of, a triple Rex play or maybe a triple CC, which usually mines a little bit less gas. So both players not scouting. This often is better for the Protoss player because Protoss has way less options to deal with a no scouting Terran than Terran has to deal with a Toss. And also a lot of the things that Terran can do against Protoss that would kill a Protoss that is not scouting are still okay if the Protoss ends up scouting. While the things that Protoss can do, things like proxy gates, are significantly worse if they do end up getting scouted. And I don't want to say it's pretty much a free loss, but you're in an absolutely awful position. So this is why we often see Protoss players scout a lot more than we see Terran players scout. A lot of Terran players don't scout at all. Think of people like Beyond, think of people like Spirit, who maybe scout 5 to 10% of their games. And they have a big enough build order variety that kind of keeps them safe without scouting altogether. Now, HeroMarine starts by moving out across the map with these 4 Marines. A battery is done, a sentry is out, an adept is on the way, an adept is out and an adept is on the way. It's going to be, 4 Marines here in the middle of the map, as this hallucination does get hit a couple of times, but will still make its way to the other side. First car now out, that quite think that got spotted there, as the starport will get seen here by this hallucination. It's going to be a Dark Templar drop as a follow-up for HeroMarine. So temporary full wall, or well, not a real full wall, but an almost full wall. I don't really think HeroMarine can do anything here whatsoever. There's a battery in the wall, there's enough units to deal with it. Hallucination sees absolutely everything, sees the double tech lab. I think this is actually going to upset HeroMarine a tiny tad. He's looking at that thinking to himself, well, that sucks because I'm going for a DT drop, and double tech lab can only really mean one thing. That means we're going to see a Raven right now popping out here for HeroMarine, who as always is playing it rather safe in the early game. Tank is popping out soon as well, and as this is, a scan. HeroMarine is very afraid here. I mean, it is an odd build order, I'm not gonna lie about it. I'm not gonna lie about that. Because all you really see is a robo in the wall, a very quick robo in the wall. Now we see a cancel on the Dark Shrine, instead opting for a Templar Archives. So it's going to be 2-base Storm, most likely. Stalker gets warped in here towards the main. And HeroMarine is moving in position to deal with a potential DT drop. Little does he know, it's not going to be a DT drop at all. Hellion is going to scout that Prism. But HeroMarine just kind of out of position here. I don't understand why there's so many units in the natural either. Seems completely in the incorrect spot here. As this Prism flies towards the main mineral line, it's going to be capable of taking out a couple of workers for free before HeroMarine even responds. Relatively low response here, slow response out of that Terran, as 3-4 workers will end up falling immediately. 5 workers. And this little bit of harassment that really shouldn't achieve that much gets quite a bit done. And this is basically the fake. The fake is already dealing damage. That is not a good look here for HeroMarine, who will need to be fighting against Storm plus Charge pretty freaking soon. Now, third Nexus is on the way here for our good friend HeroMarine. He's going to lose 1 adept here. Takes out, I think, 2 Marines it was. So 5 SCVs, 2 Marines, loses 2 adepts. And not the greatest trade, 2 adepts versus 2 Marines, but because he killed those 5 SCVs earlier, I still think this is going to be quite fine. Hello, little man. What are you doing over here near the flowers? He's having a good time. This guy sniffed too many flowers. He was going absolutely bonkers. Body started shaking. Not a good type of flowers, my friend. Can't just smell those. These are These are magic flowers, like magic mushrooms, but much, much stronger. It's just even being in its presence is bad enough. Now, Raven moves in, gets 2 kills, initially snipes a Templar. Are you serious? This is the first time I've seen an auto turret snipe a Templar. This kind of painful, because that's 150 gas there that Hero ends up losing. And it's also probably one of the defensive Templar that he wanted to use for the rest of the game. Now, the way that Hero tends to play out this particular situation is that he moves across the map with 2 or 3 Templar in a prism, storms the SCVs, and then all he needs to do is hold the counterattack of the Terran, which is then, it's not completely all in, but it is fairly all in. Instead, he's going to hit a lot of those Marines. HeroMarine, just a sloppy game altogether so far. I mean, has scouted that there are Templars, could have expected that they would be in a prism, and just isn't sending individual Marines forward. Now, is sending a bunch of Marines here to the side, trying to take out this Archon, not quite going to get it. These Marines are so freaking low. We have another Stim now coming in. Oh, Archon is going to get taken out for free, but the prism survives. Auto turrets get used. Is that the second Raven? There's 2 Ravens there. I didn't even realize that. That is not brilliant if you're playing against the Templar Archives, but we'll see how it's going to work out here. This is a tiny little army. This is an awful army. I'm not quite sure what Hero's plans are. For now, it seems like he's just moving on the map. He's going for a base trade? What? I guess he wants the base trade because he has Storm. He says, hey, I can stall with Storm. I can keep myself alive with Storm, but can you stay alive against my counterattack? And Hero believes the answer to that is going to be no. HeroMarine will turn around. HeroMarine also doesn't believe he can attack into this. Cell is moving in towards the natural as a turret gets taken out here. Oh, pretty mediocre Storm, honestly, hitting just a Marauder and a Marine. This is a tiny little army that's now going to get recalled. At the same time, I think an auto turret actually killing quite a few units. Double drop heading in towards the main as well. I think Hero might have made a misjudgment here, thinking he could have dealt with this way better than he actually could. As he got the short end of the stick here, that's for sure. There's still 2 tanks alive. There's a bunch of medevacs. This Raven, somehow, some way, is still dealing damage as well. 8 kills total. And now HeroMarine perhaps can consolidate this army and just go back. Have another go at maybe this gateway, at this cybernetics core. Yep, it's gonna just drop those units on the low ground. Start shooting away at this thing. This is not a position that's easy to break either, by the way. This is actually quite a tricky position to break. And the real banger is going to come when these units get picked up and get sent over towards the third, because that is inevitably going to happen. Good storms, though, landing, as Hero most likely is just going to get a pretty solid clean up, I think. Not targeting down the tanks might have been a mistake as they continue dishing out a lot of damage. Marauders now dropping on the low ground. There's a lot of Stalkers and Zealots got warped in on the high ground to deal with a drop. HeroMarine hasn't used his reinforcements at all, and now probably wants to start using those in some way, shape, or form. Maybe waiting for the next 2 medevacs to load everything up here. Third base is finally about to set up shop as well. Don't forget, Hero hasn't researched any regular weapon upgrades yet. No armor, no weapons. Now starts +1, starts a second robotics facility as well as a robo bay. Another Raven now shows up. Both Ravens still alive, full health as well, which is a freaking miracle if you ask me. Because, I mean, the ability to feedback is always going to be there. So these Ravens should be lower HP, and they should also have no energy majority of the time in my mind. Prism is going to make its way across the map, trying to get some damage on SCVs, maybe even trying to get a kill here somehow, some way. Interference Matrix not being used. Could have been used here on the Prism to stop this little maneuver, as 13 SCVs will end up falling. Zealot run by is set up to deal with any potential move out. The moment Hero sees that move out, I think he'll just send in those Zealots. Yep, here we go. Goes towards the natural. There's a couple of mines there ready to go as HeroMarine F2's back home. It's going to delay his push. Not entirely sure if that was necessary, because he had a Ghost, 2 Marauders and a Marine, as well as 2 mines here. So yeah, he's going to continue out on the map. We're going to have to wait and see how that's going to pan out. I think he'll be capable of getting a snipe on this fort base. Hero's not completely in position. Good feedback, though, on 1 Ghost. Very nice. We still have Templar in this Prism as well. Ready. Just kind of waiting for that big storm that he wants to hit. This is an okay storm, but the medevac count is large. There's not that many Marines anymore as EMP start blanketing this army. HeroMarine pushes forward. 1 Templar still stuck in this Prism. Now is going to drop. as the Terran Bioforce is getting lower and lower in HP. Raven stays alive with 7 HP as well. And with the first Colossus now out, the second one almost out. And a Raven harassing once more. 13 kills on this bad boy. Make that 14. I'm actually kind of afraid here for HeroMarine. He's down 40 supply. He's down in upgrades. Yes, his tech is quite good. But he's also actually down in eco right now. Mines are going to land here. There is an armory, which means an observer is going to be necessary to deal with this particular threat. As HeroMarine, despite a tricky start, a pretty poor start, honestly, has been playing quite well for the past 3-4 minutes. And as a result, finds himself in a pretty decent lead here against HeroMarine. 6 Zealots get warped in. We have a Disruptor as well being produced. I understand all of these things, but I don't think a single Disruptor is going to win the war here. I think what you need is, yeah, a lot of Disruptors. Double Disruptor production, I think, is correct. Maybe even adding a couple of, you know, cannons, maybe a battery. Trying to delay your opponent's move out with potential Zealot run-bys. I don't think you can just jump on top of this army. You need to really whittle this army down with storms and maybe disruptor shots over time. But you can't just straight up engage into this. This army is too well upgraded. It's 1-1 versus just +1 and is also significantly bigger. Here we go. Blink forward. Templar being EMP'd. Good split so far out of HeroMarine. Not sure if it's going to be enough. 2 disruptor hits. Absolutely destroying that army there. As HeroMarine temporarily forgetting to micro, seemingly. This is still an army with some real potential. Don't forget, 2 Immortals, 2 Colossus, 2 Disruptors. I think there's a Storm that's going to be available soon. So yes, this is an army that has quite some specialized units in there. On top of that, the army supply is also fairly close, 64 to 95. And a lot of HeroMarine's army advantage is in those medevacs, which don't necessarily, you know, deal damage. No EMPs available yet. There's an EMP that's about to be available, so Prism's gonna get sniped here. Disruptor shot once again. HeroMarine, no micro at all, just tries to run away from it, but that almost never works if you do it too late. Look at this split off. Hero with the game sense knew that a drop was going to be sent out, just barely misses it as he has no map vision. I don't think he'll be aware of this. Now, Mines will now start marching towards the fort base as HeroMarine starts his own fort, and the triple drop is going to head towards the main. This little, well, this is actually kind of a small force, will be moving towards the fort. I think that there's going to be some major damage in the next 20 seconds or so. Do we have a recall available? No, there's not. That means that a lot of workers will die in the main base. At the same time, this fort base is in some serious trouble as well. Marauders are going to absolutely take that out. Stalkers at the same time going in for a counterattack, but Stalkers are not great against workers or really against anything. They're good at escaping, but that's about it. So 2 Nexi have collapsed so far as the Vikings move forward, taking out 1 Colossus. Second Colossus in a little bit of trouble as well, despite the super battery being there. Here we go. Vikings continuing to dish out damage as I think HeroMarine is ready to take game number 1 here in this best of 3. 155 supply to 108. Superior upgrades for the Big Gape. Still has a drop available to get back in towards the main. All he needs to do right now is stay alive at home, and I don't really see any issues there either. This move is probably going to seal the deal here, to be quite honest. Because this is going to force a base raid, is going to force Hero to attack quickly, which is what he definitely doesn't want. He has a lot of disruptors, which are great over time, poking from a distance, picking off small clumps of units. So this fight, if given enough time, will go Hero's way. But the problem is he doesn't have that time due to this triple drop that is now moving in towards his natural. Robo's going to get taken out. A recall is technically available on this 3rd base location, but I don't think it really matters, honestly, because the moment you move back, HeroMarine's going to have way too many units. Once again, too slow on the pickup. He's been losing so many units to Purification Novas that seem completely... don't seem very difficult to micro against, either with a pickup or just with a tiny little bit of a split. So far, not super impressed with the control of HeroMarine, but more so impressed with the decision-making that he's been showcasing so far in this series. Gonna lose 1 more medevac, but has stalled for long enough at this point, I do believe. 82 supply to 66. Planetary is now ready over here at the fort. Still believe it would be a mistake to invest all of your defenses into 1 location and not try to go for a counterattack. Oh, HeroMarine losing a lot of bio units. so much supply in Liberators here. It's this drop heading towards the top side base. Will kill a couple of workers. And now the backup is going to show up. Stalkers, Archons, 1 or 2 Zealots as well. Plus 3 infantry weapons is now officially done for HeroMarine moving forward with these Liberators. This is such a powerful position, and I'll explain why that is. Because the moment Hero tries to attack into this spot, he'll need to fight into Liberators, which is practically impossible. And if Hero tries to go around, this opens Hero up for a base trade. And I think HeroMarine's army is significantly better at base trades right now. All HeroMarine really needs to do is sit back and relax. He's still going to try and push out on the map. I think this is perhaps an unnecessary risk, as he's up 14 worker supply. So he's going to be outmining his opponent, well, by a pretty significant amount. However, sometimes it is completely fine to to play moves like this if you're really certain that you can just kill your opponent straight up. Liberators now being sieged up a little bit further away. Snipe on 1 Disruptor. Nice control out of HeroMarine. Some solid moves now being put in. Probably had to warm up a little bit, as the control seems significantly better now. Medevac's getting a little bit low on energy. There's no Ghost in this army either. 2 more units will get taken out here by 1 Purification Nova. Stalker's going to show up, help out this army. Disruptor count down to 4 though. Yeah, HeroMarine just backs up here for a bit. Ooh, it's gonna drop with a very low medevac. This in general seems like a fairly risky move. Oh, here we go. Unloads. There is quite some backup here towards the left side. So this shouldn't be the end of the world, but ideally HeroMarine now would be base trading or counter-attacking, not actually straight up fighting this army. Because if HeroMarine loses this particular fight, he could actually be in some serious trouble. The control is good enough though, so there's no more disruptors available, and that means that this army is now going to melt like butter in front of the sun. And that means that HeroMarine finally will take the win here in game 1. But it was a hard-fought win that I don't think should have been that difficult after the mid-game position he put himself in. But a win is a win. 1-0 in favor of HeroMarine. In a way, we just watched the most HeroMarine game possible. It's where HeroMarine is not a player with extremely flashy micro, in my opinion. He has very good control, especially with in the first 3 racks push-out situation. I think he absolutely understands what needs to be focused, how the units need to be moved. But when it comes to splitting and sniping disruptors, I don't think he's a top 5 Terran worldwide. And where HeroMarine really shines is his understanding of unit movement, his understanding of just general decision-making, how to counter Protoss armies. It is really sick to watch, like watching HeroMarine. I feel like HeroMarine and Cure are very alike as well. I do believe that Cure's control is just a little bit slightly better, a little bit tighter. And I love the way that Cure is currently playing in the TVP matchup. Very standard StarCraft. While HeroMarine tends to throw in a curveball a bit more than, well, his Korean counterpart does. Because HeroMarine is a guy that has a very big range of build orders as well, that he can play, that he's capable of playing, that he has very good understanding of. Which is always important. Oh, what's Hero doing here? Oh, this is the proxy gate I was talking about earlier. Look at that. What do you know? So this is going to be a proxy gate versus a double gas opener. Now, I am actually not entirely sure which build order is winning in this particular situation. Like, what beats what? If I were to ask that question, I don't actually know what the answer is. For me, in my mind, this should be quite good for the Terran player, as long as the Terran doesn't build a low ground CC. I'm not sure why he built a low ground CC here. Without scouting the natural with the Reaper. I think the safe thing... Yeah, okay, well, he's gonna lose 100 minerals for that move, which is kind of sloppy, I think, out of HeroMarine. But it's just a risk that he took. Like, I think that was a conscious decision, so... I understand that, in some situations this would have worked out. If it was just a single Zealot into an Adept, that would have been fine. What is the follow-up going to be? It's going to be a gold base here. Out of Hero. As the natural. Mine does show up. Yeah, that's frustrating. Because that mine is going to detonate on a Zealot that was already dying. Now HeroMarine might actually be in a little bit of trouble. Needs to start repairing this car, that's for sure. This wall now is perhaps being breached. Like, none of these grenades have really hit yet either. And this is a tricky situation here for HeroMarine. Almost gets a kill there on 1 Adept. He's Microing back and forth kind of well now. Mine being set up too far back though in my mind. Oh. Factory gets the lift. Oh my god. What a baller move here out of HeroMarine, knowing exactly what he wanted to do. Beautiful stuff. We now have a shade towards the high ground. Sees that there's a tech lab going up as the orbital command is going to finish. Nice lift on that mine. Gets one kill on an adept and deals a lot of damage to other adepts. So I think this definitely was the correct play here out of HeroMarine as he focuses down the units on the ramp as to deny vision, but then the shades get utilized to provide that vision for the stalkers. So one more adept does get shot. If the Reaper gets taken out, it would be big, but instead it's a Marine that dies. High ground vision has been achieved once again here for HeroMarine, who's 31 workers to 29, but is in a significantly worse spot tech-wise than you'd usually expect from a Protoss in this situation. HeroMarine, this is HeroMarine in a nutshell. He gets the second barracks down during all of this. I think a lot of Terran players would have just continued producing from the production structures they have and kind of forget to get into that next phase, but HeroMarine doesn't. He's already, he has that second barracks, can start stim, can potentially start combat shield pretty soon as well as there's a third Rex on the way. And Hero, yes, he has a gold, but what else does he have? He's practically still just on 2 base eco. We see the income is very similar right now with 37 workers to 33. I mean, as long as HeroMarine is stuck on 1 base, that is good for Hero. But the moment HeroMarine gets his own natural, I don't actually think this situation is that great for Hero whatsoever. There's a Banshee now on the way, which... it is hard for me to judge this call. I kind of understand it in a way. You want a unit that can go behind your opponent. But on the other hand, do you really need it? Isn't this just a waste of cash? Maybe a faster eBay. Spending the money there would have been slightly better. So we now see this tank moving towards the low ground. Blink is about to finish up. We see a mine that is going to burrow here as well. So we have 9 stalkers out. We have an observer on the way. And this Banshee now starts moving towards the top side. It's going to get spotted here by this probe. That's kind of a big deal because otherwise, well, this base actually would have been safe because there is a battery there. So it wouldn't actually have been the end of the world at all. It would have just been frustrating here for Hero. Okay, we see 1 worker gets taken out. 2nd worker also gets blasted here. HeroMarine, of course. Solid control on that Banshee. Stalkers are being warped in to deal with this threat. And it's going to be a double gold opener into charge. 2 gates are in production. Make that 4 gates in production. So it's going to go to up to a total of 7 on 3 bases and 2 golds. Interesting stuff. Battery doesn't cover the entire mineral line, by the way. Especially these faraway patches are going to be somewhat vulnerable. Double Raven harass going down here as well. Raven is most likely going to end up dying. I don't think there's a safe spot here. Ooh, Hero not paying attention. A little bit sloppy here. Banshee does get cleared, but the Raven gets to escape. Now we'll start moving towards the main base. Templar Archives gets thrown down. And I wonder what the correct call here is for HeroMarine. Does he push out with combat and stim and his first 2 medevacs, or does he wait because his opponent is most likely building a very cheap short-term army? I wonder what his estimations are in this scenario, what his thoughts are. I think usually HeroMarine makes the correct call. So whatever HeroMarine is about to do, that's the thing I agree with. Okay, he's gonna go for a move out on the map. 102 supply against 88. We still see a lot of things in production. So more gateways coming down, Forge being added, Templar Archives that hasn't really been used quite yet. Mine a bit too far forward as these Marines get stimmed in. There's a lot of Stalkers on the high ground as well. I think HeroMarine might have overplayed his hand a little bit here. I'm not so sure if this is possible. Doesn't quite have +1 yet either. Let's not forget about that. There's a Stalker run by now happening towards the natural. There's actually a pretty decent amount of units that gets taken out here. Can he blink? No, he can't. Or at least he didn't, and he couldn't. Loses a bunch of Stalkers. Super Battery gets activated. This is kind of scary here for HeroMarine. He's putting a lot of eggs in this basket. And this seems like a wobbly basket to me, my friend. There's holes in there. Your eggs are falling out. Blinks forward is Hero. As the tank does get sniped. Is there enough production here to hold on? I think the answer is yes. 9 gateways versus just 3 barracks means that eventually, surely this is going to get cleaned up. If this pylon, however, gets sniped, that could be a huge deal, but that is not going to be the case. And we see the evacuation here out of this this gnarly situation that HeroMarine found himself in, and now I think he's in trouble. Yes, the supplies still read in favor of HeroMarine right now, 96 to 78, but technically we have map control for HeroMarine. We're in a situation where there's no third base yet for Big Gabe either. Golds are getting a little bit closer to mining out, which means that we'll need to see a fourth base at some point. But the production, this is the real problem for me, is that the production for Hero is just so freaking large. Double mine drop heading in towards this base. Now, if that gets the kills, that would be huge. And it's gonna get 1, it's gonna get none. Mine doesn't get the reburrow either, so 2 worker kills for a medevac and 2 mines. That's not a very good trade here for HeroMarine at all, who now starts pushing forward. Hold position in super battery range. Look at it go. Zoom, zoom, zoom. As the Zealots stay alive forever. Recall on the Stalkers. And I think, yeah, the main issue for me really is going to be production. We now see Liberators on the way. And I think that is a solid call here out of HeroMarine. But this would have been much better had he not lost those 2 mines for free earlier. Because then, like, a Liberator setup with mines that remain invisible is freaking huge. Like, I can't understate that enough. It is so difficult to break for Protoss. And this area in general is really hard for Protoss to fight against. I'm loving this double mine setup now, because there is no type of mobile detection except this single... Wait, where are you? This single observer. There's no cannons either, don't forget. No forge has been constructed yet for Hero. HeroMarine really is staying in for an impressive amount of time here. What felt like a pretty significant eco disadvantage. I would have preferred to see these mines spread out over the bases. Instead, it's going to be 2 mines at the same base, which is almost always worse. We have a cannon that's being constructed. Wait, there is a forge. Just hasn't been used yet. We have a base trade now being initiated here by Hero. As HeroMarine will take out a gold that is barely mining. Mines are not actually burrowed quite yet. None of them will go down before they do get their shot off, though. So that means we see 4 big shots there. Lots of SCVs being taken out, as well as Zealots being cleared. HeroMarine decides to move back home. Okay. Is that the correct call here? I guess so, because the base trade is going to be impossible for him to truly win. This is a fairly overstimped army. Force field on the ramp, as this orbital command is now under heavy siege. If that falls, I think that would be a pretty big deal, honestly. And drops in towards Archons and Stalkers. Still believe that HeroMarine might be okay in this particular fight. Hero tries to blink away. Archon's redropping further back in the base, trying to perhaps get some more surface area on this bio army. I think we're gonna see a blink down right now. That means that this CC could actually get taken out. The main CC has survived with a little bit of HP. But the third won't. 74 supply to 60, 32 workers to 10. This base has not been mining in quite a while, but there is a natural that is actually gathering resources. HeroMarine being jumped upon here by Stalkers, by these Archons in the Prism. And I think that Hero might have just done it. GG gets called, and indeed it is the case. Hero takes game number 2. I truly believe that if certain interactions in that last game just happened slightly different, just ever so slightly different. I'm thinking of that mine drop the moment the armory first finishes. I really believe if HeroMarine drops 1 mine in the main base and 1 at that gold where he now dropped 2, that has a significant impact on the game. Purely based on the chaos that it will create, and probably the forced warp in towards the main base, the pull away from the probes, the potential for more damage. I also think that the initial 2 mine drop that went towards the top left side, I think it was, when there was no armory yet, was probably ill-advised. Of course, in retrospect, everything is always very clear as to which move was good and which one wasn't. But I think that those were the 2 things where you could say, hey, I think HeroMarine might have made some judgment in errors. And of course, I think the early game, I feel like there is there might have been a better solution or maybe slightly better control possible in how to deal with those initial adepts. I think the natural was regained, perhaps a bit too slow as well. But it's very hard for me to say because I'm not very familiar with these particular situations. I am not a massive proxy gater myself. I actually can't quite recall the last time I went for a proxy gate. It might have been in a previous expansion. We're talking Heart of the Swarm, Wings of Liberty, perhaps. So I'm not super familiar with these scenarios. Like, I've seen them a bunch, of course, but seeing something is very different from being just aware of how these interactions usually happen. And these particular interactions, they seemed a bit strange to me. It felt like HeroMarine was getting more done than he should have, but that could just be possible because HeroMarine has very good control, and maybe this is what's supposed to happen if the Protoss has very good control. I'm just not entirely sure. This time around, a double gas once more coming out of HeroMarine, who continues mining gas. This is important at a very high rate, very high rate of gas mining here. This is important because, well, I don't quite know what this means. It just means that there's going to be slightly less mineral eco and maybe a bit of a push. I want to say it's going to be a tech lab here. What I would say is there's going to be Reaper, Hellion, some type of maybe a cyclone attack with Marines and a medevac, or maybe a tank push even with Marines and a medevac. We could technically be seeing, well, a Raven Rush would be really weird. I think a Banshee would be off as well. I'm not expecting anything like that. This was a quick sentry opener once more out of HeroMarine, just like in game number 1, but rather than following this up with a Dark Shrine, this instead is going to be a very fast Oracle. So now the question here is going to be, how will HeroMarine scout this? And if he'll scout this, how will he respond? This is actually a really good opener for HeroMarine. It's getting that Cyclone out. I don't think the Cyclone is going to be spotted. Now there is a timing here possible. Oops, Oracle's gonna get found out here. We'll take out 2 Reapers. Immediately a new Cyclone gets set up. Is it just going to be a 4 Marine Cyclone drop? I'm not familiar with this particular build. So the build order is pretty much the same as you were to do a tank drop in Terran versus Terran, except it's with a Cyclone. Not quite sure what you're planning on achieving here. Maybe a couple of kills with your I guess that's all. A couple of worker kills. Feels kind of scary though to fly with so little units. I thought this was going to be an all-in of some sort, but I guess you want a quicker reactor with that maybe. Okay, should drop outside of vision range here. Starts moving forward. Very nice. Attacks the assimilator accidentally. It's going to give a quick warning there for HeroMarine. 2 worker kills and gets to escape. I mean, it's not awful. It's just not great either, you know? And now it's HeroMarine on the hunt. It's moving on the map here. Adept, Stalker, Oracle, 2 Phoenixes. This army is going to escape, as there will be a follow-up push that's most likely going to hit the front. Viking, second Cyclone. Tank is out now as well, which is making its way across the map. We do have a barracks follow-up, as well as a Robobay coming down now for HeroMarine. HeroMarine's gonna get caught in the middle of the map, or perhaps it's HeroMarine that got caught in the middle of the map. Double lift here on those Cyclones. And HeroMarine is the one who gets the better end of that trade for sure. Gets a single lift on 1 more Marine. Tank is about to siege up. Might get some pretty decent damage in there. HeroMarine knows exactly when to pull back and when not to. And that was a very good fight here for our South Korean Protoss player. Raven has finished up right now for HeroMarine, and that should be, well, that Raven should be going into hiding, alright? Because if those Phoenixes find this Raven's not going to be having a very good time. Well, this Raven can actually provide a lot of value later on in the game. Ooh, 3 more barracks on the way, but we'll get to that later. With the first push. It's going to be a 5 Rex play, which is kind of a controversial build, especially when playing against Colossus. Because the one thing you usually can do against Colossus builds is kill them on 3 bases. You can gain an advantage, you can gain map control and get ahead through your map control, but I've almost never seen anyone kill a Colossus opener with a 5 Rex from 2 base. This is really uncommon. And it makes me believe that HeroMarine isn't aware of the fact that this is a Colossus follow-up. Because this is... There's going to be... It's pure Marine at this point. We have 1 tank out, 2 tanks out, sorry. 20 Marines. He's literally just massing Marines against a unit which entire purpose, it's been designed to kill Marines, to slaughter them at a high pace. Yikes. That is indeed going to be a yikes for me. Phoenix is still flying around. Twilight on the way, no Forge yet. Here we go, Forge gets thrown down now. Thermal Lens will finish up before this push as well. We're gonna have, I think, at least 2 Colossus. Yeah, 2 Colossus into Disruptor here for HeroMarine before this push arrives. Nah, I'm just not seeing how HeroMarine wins a fight. He's following this up with Viking, so it's going to be Viking Tank Marine. It's going to be a very slow crawl forward. I think he wants to utilize this general area to push in between kind of the natural and the third. Could technically also go from the low ground. Vikings are going to help out against any type of Colossus abuse. Don't forget that with the Raven, there's 2 interference matrices available as well, which could be quite big. We see HeroMarine moving on the map, wants to fight this army pre-siege up, or at least forge a siege up, you know, before he has to defend at his base. There's a lot of Marines going down already pre-fight. 6, 7 Marines going down here. 1 Phoenix will fall as well once again. Couple of swipes on these Marines. Definitely panning out well so far for HeroMarine, who's getting closer and closer to charge, and that's going to be a huge upgrade. Cannon being added in as well. A move that HeroMarine could make right now is just throw down a base over here on the top side. So you just forever kite back with those Colossus, you utilize your super battery, and then you just piss off back home basically. That could be a move to go for. Disruptor is available as well here for a single Purification Nova. HeroMarine in a pretty solid position. How is HeroMarine going to fight this? How is he going to play this out? Charge about to finish up. A couple of seconds away right now. We see Marine stimming forward. That surely is a mistake. Tanks always need to be in the front. Okay, here we go. As HeroMarine collapses on top of this army. Phoenix is dealing with the Vikings as the tanks are being targeted down. But this seems like HeroMarine so far is actually holding. He is. He's holding his position. Pushing into this cannon is going to be quite tricky. He needs to do it with tanks. The damage output needs to come from the tanks as HeroMarine loses a bunch of bio units for free once more. I feel like he's lost over 15 bio units for absolutely no reason at this point, as the tanks should be the one, you know, making or breaking this push. I think this third base might actually be in some serious trouble. We see an unsiege here coming out of HeroMarine on 1 tank. It's going to cost him a little bit as Phoenixes are being targeted down. There's 1 Colossus still alive, and that's going to help out massively against the Marine count. It does get taken out. The pickup is tight. That was real nice, actually. 22 workers have gone down on the side of HeroMarine, who still has a Disruptor. Similar amount of upgrades, similar amount of supply, and is up a base. But right now, when it comes to the eco, I'm not so sure if HeroMarine is actually liking his spot very much. We have a drop heading in towards the main base. Vikings being taken out for free. I think that's going to be 2 that died and 1 that got severely damaged. Drop in the main base. This is very low for a drop. Those Zealots are going to charge in and take him out. Here, Chargelots find a bunch of, well, units that are relatively lost. No medevac nearby either. More Vikings being produced. There's just not enough medevacs as this army is simply too damaged, too battered to truly do something here. Medevac gets taken out, and I think HeroMarine's chances here are sizzling out like a candle in the night. And that's not entirely what you want, unless you care very much about fire safety. Then it's probably better that that candle isn't burning through the night. 43 SCVs to 55 workers here. We have a superior base count still. Production is quite healthy looking though for HeroMarine, of course. Still 5 barracks. We got that factory popping out tanks 1 at a time too. I'm just having trouble seeing what the follow-up plan is going to be. There's going to be Archons, there's going to be Colossi, there's going to be a Disruptor still, and there's going to be a lot of charge. But the possibility for flanks is here. The possibility for counterattacks is there as well. Phoenixes are still around to deal with drops too, so overall it's just not a super comfortable situation here for HeroMarine, who is just severely down in supply right now. Stims in from a very far distance, by the way. As he's ping-ponging in between a potential 4th base location and the natural. 3rd base now under heavy siege. HeroMarine, what are we doing? Killing marines from, or killing probes from quite a distance. Trying to perhaps take out a Nexus now. Don't think that is quite going to work. Needs to pick up. At the same time, Phoenixes here are being taken out, but so will these Medivacs die as well. Get a recall towards the main. Blink is very close to being done. So the main base is now turned into the 3rd. HeroMarine continues in this game, but I don't think his position is salvageable at this point. He has one more push in him. One more push. A single push. As here come a bunch of Marines in towards the natural. Without a medevac, they're just going to give their life for a bunch of probes. It's going to be 4 or 5 workers total. And this is going to be the push. I think it's the only thing that HeroMarine can do is to go across the map right now. It doesn't feel right because he knows he has a smaller army. And he probably would die if his opponent were to attack him right now. But I don't think a macro game from here is possible. Well, Hero is going to attack into him. Yes, that means, well, his tanks are going to get lifted. Quite some damage output out of these tanks, though. Liberators helping out as well. Supplies actually getting closer and closer. Liberators really putting in some serious work, but the Vikings have disappeared. There's nothing really to deal with those Colossus right now. We have a Zealot Warp in at home. It might end up working out perfectly here for HeroMarine that these Zealots just leave as the drop lands in towards the natural. And maybe, just maybe, if he takes out 12, 13 workers here, that could be big. Drops inside a range of that super battery. And that means that the probes actually have quite some damage output. Get one more warp in. Not a single probe went down there. If he kills 12, 13 workers there, I almost start to believe again. Oh, but this Orbital in some trouble. Blink forward into the Liberator. GG gets called as Hero wins the series with a 2-1 score here. As HeroMarine, yeah, not quite what it takes versus the best Protoss in this matchup. That is going to be it for me today. Thanks all so much for watching. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. I'll see all of you next time for a new video. Thank you so much, and bye-bye.